When it comes down to shopping for gaming parts, you have two choices. Spend what you can now, or save up and spend a little more. So in today's video, I'm going to go over which one makes sense for your budget, and that's going down right now. But if this is your first time to the channel and you're into building and fixing up gaming PCs on a budget, consider clicking the subscribe button and notification bell to catch all new uploads the moment they drop. Doing this helps me grow here on YouTube and as a content creator, and for that I appreciate you all to the moon and back. There's your budget, and then there's your budget, if that makes sense. You have how much you want to spend versus how much you can spend. And believe it or not, there is a difference. It's the want and the can that separates the two. It's the difference between waiting for the best or simply having the best, or close to it. Let's say you want to stream on Twitch or right here on YouTube, and you need a gaming PC that's going to help you crush whatever the platform of your choice is. You have, let's say hypothetically, $800 to spend. That is your budget. That is your ceiling. That is the absolute highest you can go. This is how much money you can spend and want to invest in your PC, at least at the moment, but more on that later. And since we are streaming, it is mission critical that we pick a graphics card that'll support whatever game or games that we plan on streaming. Ideally, one that supports DirectX 10 and up, or basically any GPU made within the last 10 years. And picking the right GPU is important because if 1080p is what you're building for, then 1080p is what you should be buying for. And now, speaking of building, let's jump over to PC Part Picker. And now PC Part Picker is an excellent website, very helpful. I can't recommend it enough, especially for new builders. It lets you configure parts. It also shows you which parts are incompatible, and it also tallies up your total system's power draw. I'll put a link to this build in the description below. And now the most critical part to any gaming PC, but especially one that's intended for streaming, is the CPU. Now it's important to note that Twitch recommends at minimum an i5-4670, which is a Haswell based CPU from 2013, and 8 gigabytes of RAM. So let's start there. Now, I went with the Ryzen 5 2600. It's a popular choice amongst builders on a budget these days. It comes with the premium air cooler, the Wraith Stealth, so we're saving some money there. And it has 6 cores. And speaking of cores, the Ryzen 5 2600 has 6 of them. And it has support for SMT, that's simultaneously multi-threading technology. So that puts the total number of threads to 12. This is all for a price of $118. That leaves a lot of streaming performance on the table and a lot of horsepower at this price point. Typically, when you're doing more than just gaming on a PC, and in our case streaming, the more cores, the better. I recommend the 2600 to most gamers because it really offers the best price to performance or bang for your buck at this price point. If you were just gaming, like if you were just only gaming, then you could definitely go with a different CPU, like a Ryzen 3400G or even maybe a 2200G. We use the first generation Ryzen 5 1600X in my wife's Wonder Woman system. I'll put a link to that video right here so you can check it out after this one. And now jumping over to the motherboard, I went with the Gigabyte B450 Aorus Elite. It's a quality AM4 board, especially at its $100 price point. It has support for up to 3200 megahertz memory speed, and that's good. That's what we want. That's what you want, to run your memory at its fastest rated possible speed, especially when you're running a Zen first generation or a Zen Plus CPU. The Infinity Fabric depends on it. It has really good onboard Ethernet solution for connecting your PC to the internet, support for up to 2 M.2s for faster read and write speeds, and it also has a built-in backplate, which is awesome, along with quality VRM and just overall solid build quality. It even has a little bit of RGB flair to it. I mean, literally, and at dark and at nighttime, this thing is lit. A simple BIOS update, and this motherboard will be able to run Zen 2 CPUs, so you could upgrade to, say, a 3600 or possibly even a 3700X and get even better computing power from your CPU. And for memory, I went with a 16 gigabyte kit of Corsair Vengeance LPX DDR4 memory. Memory prices can be volatile at times, so picking this up for $83 new is a bargain in my opinion. Plus, Corsair makes quality RAM. I use them in nearly every system here in the studio. They overclock pretty well on the XMP, and they look good too. Some may argue that you need 32 gigabytes of RAM to stream, and they're right, most likely you do. We just don't need it here today, and plus our budget doesn't suit it. Again, remember, we're targeting $800. But with the Aorus Elite supporting up to 64 gigabytes of RAM, you could always upgrade in the future, not to 64 gigabytes, but you can always upgrade in the future to another 16 gigabyte kit down the road. And then for your power supply, I recommend going with the reputable brand and a PSU that has a high efficiency rating, such as an 80 plus gold or silver rating. For this build, we're going with this Corsair CXM 650 watt power supply unit. It's rated 80 plus bronze, so it should deliver the maximum power needed at system load, which is just under 300 watts. At least you know you'll have any headroom for any future manual overclocking. It has two PCIe pin connectors at 6+2 and 4+4, which will be suitable for both our GPU, which requires a single 8-pin connection, and the CPU, which requires a single 8-pin connection. For storage, we have a 240 gigabyte SSD for Windows and your core programs and games, and a 1 terabyte hard drive for what I call long-term storage, or games and files you don't open as often. And then jumping over to the graphics card, I went with the MSI 1660 Ti. It has 6 gigabytes of VRAM, and at 1080p this card should have no problems running games at high to max settings with this 6 gig memory buffer. I mean, the 1660 Ti is arguably the best graphics card in this price range, that price range of $300 to $400. This one priced significantly lower. I'd imagine that's because the 1660 Super just released, and that costs slightly less, but also offers slightly less performance. But how much money you decide to spend there really depends on two things: your monitor's resolution and its refresh rate. We're targeting 1920 by 1080p at a refresh rate of at least 60 Hz while streaming, so it is critical that we budget around a graphics card that will deliver those results or better. And then for the case, the body, the tower, I went with the Cooler Master Master Box, or the MB511 for short, and it's coming in at just under $90. It's a steel/plastic hybrid ATX mid-tower, and it does have a tempered glass, or what Cooler Master likes to refer to as the edge-to-edge transparent side panel. It comes with 3 already installed 120mm LED RGB fans in the front, and that should move a decent amount of airflow through that front mesh. And now when it comes to installing Windows or your OS on a new PC, you can download the Windows installation tool to a USB and run an unactivated version. Or you can buy a Windows 10 key from a legit and reputable key site and activate Windows that way. But if you're uncomfortable with going that route, you can buy a Windows 10 key directly from Microsoft. Or you can just use an unactivated version of Windows, to which you would see that down at the bottom of your screen. And concluding with the most important tool in your streaming arsenal, that is your bandwidth. This entails simply connecting your PC to the internet. Now, you have two options you can go about this, but here's the best way. Use a wired connection whenever possible, because dig this, the faster your internet speed, the faster your connection. Your aim is to have an upload speed of at least 3 megabytes per second. Twitch recommends that themselves. And boom, there you have it. If you have $800 to spend on a gaming PC, consider building a system similar to this one here that we built today. If you need a little help along the way, check out this video right here. And let's say you only have about $600 to $700 to spend, you're not quite there at the $800 ceiling, here's what you can do. What you can do is lower the cost by bumping the CPU to an 8-core 2700 and the GPU down to an RX 570 or an RX 580. You'll be getting slightly less performance, but we would also be spending a significantly less amount of money. So, to learn more about budget PCs and other gaming related stuff, watch the top video first and then the bottom one next. And then consider clicking the subscribe button and notification bell to catch all new uploads the moment they drop. Again, this helps me grow here on YouTube and as a content creator. Also, tell me down in the comments if you enjoyed this one, or if you didn't, it's okay. Either way, tell me. Anyhow, that'll be all for this one. I hope to catch you all in the next one. So until then, be easy.